Hey everybody, it's your boy Duel. We're back with another video. Spectacular Spider-Man, episode 17. And this time I wanted to try something a little bit different. I wanted to throw on the webcam and I don't know, just something I'm playing with. So let me know in the comments what you think. If I should just go back to no webcam, then I'll just do that too. But other than that, nothing about the video format's going to change, at least for now. But yeah, we're on episode 17. And just want to say thanks so much for all the support on the previous videos. I really appreciate it. It means so much to me, and it's like, I love just talking about Spider-Man, but it's nice to see that people are actually liking these videos and like viewing them and watching them, so it really means a lot. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in. Episode 17 was titled Sheer's Strength. It was directed by Jennifer Coyle, and Jennifer Coyle, she's also directed episode 4, 5, 8, 11, and 14, and she's directed future episodes, but we haven't seen those yet, so I'm not going to mention those because we're not there yet. And the episode was also written by Randy Jant, and I believe Randy's written a couple other episodes too, but I did not write down which episodes he's written so far, so sorry about that. Alright, so we're going to just jump right in. This is actually a really heavy episode, and I've said that a couple times in the previous reviews, and I actually mean that this time. This one's a hefty one, and it's a good one though. I like it. I like this one a lot. So Tank and Vulture and Electro, they meet up. They're back at Otto's lair to meet up with him, and it turns out that he was the master planner this whole time. Wow, what a shock. It is what it is, right? So Electro asks Doc, he's like, well, why didn't you break out with us, with him and Craven, when we were doing the breakouts? And he was like, well, I remained safe at the hospital, and it was better than being in prison. So that's pretty much why he stayed in there. And also, it doesn't look as suspicious when he's still in a hospital bed, and all the other villains have escaped. They don't point to him, and he can actually make more plans by staying in the hospital. He also says that like I just mentioned, it's basically like a decoy plan for Spidey. So Spidey's going after the master planner instead of looking at somebody like Doc Ock. So I guess it worked, right? Since Spidey doesn't know any different. And Tinkerer says that all they have left to do is calibrate the arms after retrieval and testing. So we'll talk about this later because this doesn't make sense to me until later on in the episode. So I want to mention that it's not really made clear that the arms have a mind of its own, and I think that it's explained later, but it's not really explained well in this moment if the arms have are they sentient, or is is Octavius, is he not himself when he doesn't have the arms, or was he just pretending to be dumb and be, this victim in the hospital the whole time? I think it is the latter, where he where he's pretending to be this victim. But I'm not sure. I could go either way with it, honestly. Let me know what you think. We're now with Peter and Norman, where they're in talks to destroy an old building for the new Oscorp R&D tower. Norman introduces Peter to Morris Bench, which I wonder if this guy will come up again in the future, but we'll see. But Morris Bench is the demo expert, while Pete is in all his setup. Bench says that they can remote detonate the entire building whenever he gives the go-ahead. And how can this possibly go wrong? And as we find out, it looks like one of Norman's PIs, I believe, comes to discuss the whereabouts of Toombs and Vulture. But before they can even get into that, he tells Peter, hey Peter, can you go over there for a couple minutes? I gotta talk to this guy. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Peter has this concerned look on his face, and but we don't really get that far into that until Bench is like, oh my god, it's been detonated. What are we gonna do? And we only have 30 seconds, and it's been overridden, and of course he's not able to override the controls. He can't shut down the device, and so they're like, oh, we only have 30 seconds. I guess we're gonna die. This is it. And Norman and the PI just stand there, and they don't even care for the most part. Maybe the PI is a little bit more concerned, but yeah, it doesn't really faze Norman, right? That dude is rock solid. But so anyways, of course Peter disappears, and then Spider-Man shows up. And he grabs the three men, and he sets up a web catapult, and he's about to fling the men. But then Norman's like, well, what about Peter Parker? And he's like, don't worry, I already got to take care of. But in the back of his mind, he's like, aw, he really does care about me. So then he flings them, and then Spidey gets out of the building, and then the intro starts. So after the destruction, Spidey bounces off some of the debris where he lands on the Apollo building, and it's revealed that Ock was the mastermind he's trying to take out Norman, but it failed. And Vulture was like, well, his time will come, so will the Arachnid's time. We'll get them both at some point. But I'm surprised that Norman or Ock haven't put together that Peter is, like, this would have been the prime moment for them to figure out that Spider-Man is connected to Peter Parker. And maybe at some point, Octavius will figure this out, but in this particular moment, he has not figured this out. So yeah, so Birdie Boy says that Norman's time will come, along with Spidey's, but Ock should be pleased with the initial test that they just did with the demolition. And Ock, he says he's pleased with the test and that he was able to set off the detonation with a thought, just like how he controls his arms. So while explaining this, Doc goes for some of his coffee, where there's like a note inside his little coffee container, and it's like, please keep clean, or clean up after yourself, or something along those lines. And I think that's funny because it's like, well, wait a minute, is Doc the only one drinking this? First of all, like, because he uses his robot arms, so it's like, well, will the other guys, like the other Sinister Six members, will they actually go over there, press like this random button in a wall, and figure out that there's coffee in there and drink the coffee? Or is Norman the only one drinking that coffee? So it's like, is it a reminder for himself to clean up? Like, it's confusing. Like, I wish I would elaborate on that. I thought it was so funny. So anyway, he elaborates further to say that now they have an entire wireless connection to the city from his brain. And in less than 24 hours, the entire world is going to be at his mercy. So we move back to the Silver Spoon, where MJ, Gwen, and Pete are hanging out, and MJ asks if, him and Gwen are going to be doing anything for New Year's Eve. And they're both sitting there, and they get kind of awkward. They say they have no plans made, but now that it's brought up, Pete's about to ask Gwen to go see the ball drop, but then Flash interrupts, and he's like very rude. He's like, I want a muffin. It needs to be chocolate right away. And so Liz is running up, like, catering to his every need because he's got a broken leg. And Pete kind of just grumbles, and he's like saying that Flash is milking his injury for all it's worth. And Gwen takes notice of this, that he's still kind of like looking at Liz a little bit. And so he walks away. He goes and gets in line and he goes and gets some food, I guess. And then he's talking to Liz. And so MJ's like, what's going on with Pete? And Gwen's like, well, he's not that into me. And MJ's like, well, he's just confused. And then it like pans to a scene where Pete is trying to talk to Liz. And then MJ's like, okay, he's a lot confused. So, and then she's like, all right, well, just to even ease your pain a little further, just know that my aunt talked to his aunt, and she says that Peter talks about you like 24/7. So it gives her a little confidence boost, and MJ's being a good friend. And what's weird though is that in the last episode, MJ's pushing for Gwen and Peter, but at the same time, it's almost like she likes Peter too. So it's like, is she like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? And obviously, in the comics, Pete usually gets with MJ, right? But it's still ironic to me that she's over here pushing Gwen and Pete, but she's in him too. So at least that's my perspective. But yeah, I just think that's funny. So Pete's in line ordering some food where his order gets messed up, and so does the coffee machine. But it turns out this is only happening because there's some sort of malfunction, and the malfunction is not out of nowhere. It's caused by, you can guess, Dr. Octopus. Doc hacks the dispatcher's computer of 911, the police department, and he hacks their computer to say that there's like an armed robbery and that the cops need to head that way. The cops get called, and the cops are like, well, are you sure we need to head up that way? And they're like, yeah, that's what my computer says. So they head up that way, and for some reason this starts causing car accidents. I guess he's hacking like the street lights and stuff. So there's a bunch of accidents that are happening. The gang goes to check it out, and Gwen's like, is anybody hurt? And Pete's like, I don't know. And so he walks away from her, and I guess the whole entire gang walks away from Gwen while Gwen is just standing back. She gets snuck up on by Electro, and he knocks her out, and then Vulture takes her away. By this point, it's either that Ock has figured out Pete's identity, or he just knows that from Spidey's fights, potentially with Venom, that Gwen was the focal point of that fight, and he uses that to their advantage. That's actually a pretty smart play, I have to say. Our boys leap into action, and he's going to start going after the villains. But of course, I'm curious to know how Peter was able to change into his costume without Ock noticing, because like in a previous scene, it's shown that since he's like connected to the entire city, he has like monitors all over the place, so that he can see everything. So you would think that like if Pete like went down a dark alley or something, or he just changed like in a phone booth, like Superman, he would notice, right? So, but they don't explain that. So it's a TV show. What can you do, right? So Electro, very ecstatic. See what I did there? They're getting away, and Ock informs them that the Tinkerer. He tells the Tinkerer like, "Hey, you guys are being chased by Spidey, so you guys need to book it." So Spidey swings and he hops from building to building as he's dodging attacks from Electro until eventually he ditches to the side of them, and then he crashes their van. Like he literally breaks into the windshield and crashes it. Like, which is kind of reckless for Spidey, right? Because usually he's not trying to kill these people. He's just trying to stop them. And this is like one way to get all three of them killed. Like, Spider-Man's not indestructible, and neither is Electro or the Tinkerer. I'm pretty sure Tinkerer is just a normal guy. Like, he should have multiple broken bones. But, of course, none of that gets addressed. Vulture reports back to Ock, stating that their guest has arrived, and that guest is Gwen. And they also have her phone. They call up Captain Stacy to get his attention. Ock tells Stacy that he needs the global portal code stored in the Homeland Security's New York HQ. And Stacy's like, "That's impossible. I'd never do it." And then he's like, well, if you don't do this, then I'm going to, keep your daughter, and I could do potentially dangerous things to your daughter. And Stacy's like, "If I give you access, then you potentially have access to every single government computer and maybe even the world." And Doc Ock's like, "Yeah, that's the whole point." So with the right motivation, Stacy's gonna get the job done, at least according to Ock. So back on the streets, on top of a building, Spidey is interrogating Tinker. Spidey's like, "Give me the answers. I need to know where that girl went. What'd you do with her, or else?" And Tink's like, "You ain't gonna do nothing to me. I am a villain and you are a hero. You're never gonna hurt me." And Spidey's like, "Yeah, you know what? You're kind of right." So he just chucks him off a building, and he just lets him go. And then of course he webs him, but still, like, damn, he like chucked him off the building. I did not see that coming. So he chucks him off the building. And of course, right before he is about to die, he catches him with webbing. And then he lets him go again. And then he catches him again. And so Tinker's like, all right. I don't want to keep falling. Like, I'm good. I'll tell you what you need to know. So then after that, the captain is seen going to get the codes, being closely watched by Doc Ock and Electro. And when asked why Doc can't just do this himself, by Electro, he explains that the codes are kept in an isolated system. Back at our masked hero, he realizes that he can't just get into the master planner's entrance on the ground level. So he decides to go through a secondary entrance underneath, which is like underwater. He like jumps in the water. He's like, "Man, I need to get like an underwater suit. This is really freaking cold." So Captain Stacy makes his way to the monitor room, talking to the security agents. That is until the Vulture starts attacking Homeland Security building. Electro is sent after Spidey breaking in. So Spidey gets in under the water, he gets through that secondary base, and he's like popping up on a camera, and then Electro's like, "All right, I'll go take care of him." So Stacy's able to get to Otto with some clearance, but it's not enough. So he says that he'll have to get another location to grab the global portal codes. Spidey immediately goes after Gwen, telling her not to worry, while also almost revealing actually, I should say, that he knows her name. He like says Gwen, and then he says Girly or something like that, and I thought it was really funny. Their interaction is cut short when Electro shows up, electrifying the cage and knocking Gwen out again. This is a really good scene because when this happens, Spider-Man gets inherently pissed, and for good reason, right? He loves Gwen, cares about her a lot. But I like these moments because Spider-Man turns on the serious meter, like he's ready to go, and he's like, "All right, no more jokes. Like I ain't playing around. Like I'm gonna take you down." So I really like this side of Spidey when he gets like this. After the arachnid gets hit by the electricity, Master Planner tells Electro that he needs to take the fight somewhere else because he's blasting all the tech. Spidey picks up on this, so he starts taunting Electro, basically calling him Max and Maximilian and all these names that he doesn't like. And he's just like blasting the walls and blasting all the servers and stuff, and it's just damaging the entire lab. Stacy is inching closer to getting the codes. until he demands that he gets to talk to Gwen before he goes any further. And Ock first is resistant to this, but then is like, fine. So then, while this is happening, Ox's lab is coming. It's just coming down, right? Because Spidey's just taunting Electro over and over. The Raw Caller is about to free Gwen when he reveals that he knows who the Master Planner's real identity is. He's like, hey, pro tip for somebody who has a secret identity. If you're gonna change your identity or at least keep it a secret, don't sign your work, bro. And so I guess they don't really show us this, or at least maybe I missed it, but Doc, I guess, signs his name on stuff. I'm not really sure when that happened, but maybe I missed it. So while the wall arms are going after Spidey, he targets Electro to give the wall arms some well-needed shock therapy. So at this point, like, Electro's knocked out. So he like takes the arms and like guides them towards Electro, and they get shocked. So then they get taken out of the picture. Spidey gets the upper hand until Ock himself shows up and grabs Gwen back from our boy. They tango for a bit, but the fight causes too much damage to the point where the servers can't handle all the web traffic from all the cameras. They start overriding Otto's inhibitor chip in the back of his neck. Once Otto realizes he's lost, he initiates a self-destruction sequence while taking off an escape pod. We'll meet again, Spider-Man! I wish he said that, but he doesn't. Basically says something along those lines. So the escape begins, but in the process, Spidey gets trapped under a building of debris and servers. And at this point, like, the entire place is about to, explode. At the end of his rope, Spidey starts to give in, but he realizes, like, Gwen is sitting there and she's about to wake up. He's like, I can't just be giving up. Like, I'm Spider-Man. Like, I have to get out of here and save her. She depends on me. So he musters the strength to push the server or debris above him and get up above it and save him and Gwen. He's able to lift up the giant server, save Gwen, but Gwen points out that Electro is still left in there to die, and he kind of is like, I don't want to save him, but I have to, so he does. He goes in there, grabs him, saves him, and they make their way to an escape pod where there's a red and blue hero is about to pass out. Ock calls Vulture to abort the mission, and Gwen tells Stacy to let him know that she's safe. Peter's back home, waiting for the ball to drop, attempting to call Gwen again because he wants to go see the ball drop with her, or at least invite her over, or something along those lines. Stacy picks up saying that Gwen's been going through a lot lately and she can't hang out. And of course Gwen's like, Dad, give me the phone. Like, this is some BS. So while he's trying to talk to Gwen, there's a doorbell ring at his door, and Pete's distracted by this, and it turns out it's Liz. So Liz says, well, first off, Pete's like, well, what do you mean? What are you doing here? I thought, you were with Flash. And Liz is like, well, I'll always care for Flash, but I officially ended things with him. And then she says that what she really wants is to be with him. And then she kisses him. And Peter is just like in complete shock by this. The phone is like still in his hand. And Gwen's like talking like, hello? Is anybody there? Hello? And that's really where the episode wraps up, and it just ends right there. I'm like, dang. So we're back in the love triangle again. What's Peter gonna do? Oh no, so many women are after him. What a problem. What a conundrum. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, I think this was a really, really solid episode. Lots happening here. A lot to unravel. I was gonna say unwrap, but I felt like that wasn't the right word. But anyway, yeah, solid episode. I really like the fact that the stakes are getting higher every time these villains attack. They just get higher and higher, and they're getting closer and closer to Peter, which is bad for him, but good for like suspense, I guess, and good for the energy of the show, really shaking things up. It's not just like in season 1, it was like establishing these villains and building them up and creating the Sinister Six, but now the Sinister Six is here. We know who they are, and all of their motivations for the most part. And so it's nice to see them like actually trying to up their game every single time they go after Spider-Man. But it's just not enough. Our boy keeps thwarting them. They just can't get it down right. Maybe eventually they will, but not today. And not today. But yeah, I like the fact that, Peter he's actually figuring out that he really likes Gwen. Like, all this is happening. He realizes how much he cares about Gwen. But of course, Liz is coming in and she's messing everything up. And you know what? To be honest, I don't believe Liz when she says she likes Peter. I really don't. At least not here. or maybe not even at all. It just kind of, I mean, maybe she does. I don't know. I mean, she's kissing him, so I mean, why'd you fake that? I guess, but yeah. But we're back in the love triangle, so there's that little conundrum. Hopefully, we only got 5 episodes left, so this can't be lasting long, right? Like we got to get through the love triangle where maybe Pete will shut things down next episode. I don't know, but that's my hope anyway. But yeah, overall, I think this was a solid episode. Some of the animation was a little kind of sucky at bits and pieces where there was like high speed chases, and I guess that goes without saying with animation. It's really hard to make things look good when they're going really fast. I guess maybe I don't know. I'm not an animator, but I'm just saying what I noticed in the episode. So yeah, but yeah, love triangle. We already talked about that. We've kind of established that Spider-Man's feelings for Gwen are getting stronger every time something like this happens. We first saw it with Venom, and now we're seeing it twice here. I thought for sure that Otto had learned that Peter was the connection. Like he should have deduced the fact that Craven is picking up Peter's scent, and he definitely should have figured it out. Maybe Norman does. One of them has to have figured this out by now. The fact that as soon as Peter disappears, Spider-Man shows up, like right there when he was with Norman on that building. Norman should have figured it out, or Ock. So hopefully one of them does, and it becomes a plot point at some point. But yeah, I mean, other than that, yeah, this was a really, really good episode. I like the animation. I like that Spidey actually, like, he took things serious. When it comes to his friends, he doesn't fuck around, or women that he loves, he doesn't play. Like, this isn't like I'm gonna be quipping and stuff. I mean, he does quip, obviously, but it's not. He knows the urgency of the situation. So I really appreciate that. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts on the episode. We're getting started working on episode 18 next week. Yeah, this was a good one. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. I just want to say, if you made it this far in the video, please like and subscribe on the video. I really appreciate it. It means so much to me. And just remember, with great power comes great responsibility. I'm Dyer, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.